Hello, everyone. I am Corey Andrew Powell, and I am so thrilled today to be joined by entrepreneur, author, and activist Vishen Lakhiani. Vishen continues to shake up the education system as one of the world's most significant learning reformers. And as the founder of Mindvalley, Vishen's mission is to create a better system for educating humanity toward higher consciousness, spirituality, personal growth, and awareness. Vishen, welcome to Motivational Mondays.
Hi, Corey. It's nice to be on your show.
Oh, well, it's such a pleasure to have you here. And as I mentioned to you before we got started, I've been just in my research of you and your platform. I have become a fan and follower, and I just think what you're doing is so incredible. So it's really definitely a pleasure to have you here. I will begin, though, by saying you have the most calm, soothing demeanor and presence. So I do find it kind of funny that you apparently were named after the Hindu god of destruction. Is that correct?
Well, Vishnu, right? Vishnu would be
okay.
the Hindu god of preservation, the preserver. I
Oh,
don't know much about Hindu mythology, so I can't
yeah.
go any deeper than that. But
Okay.
but the reason I have a calm voice is because, Corey, I started my career as a meditation instructor. I
Mm,
was in Silicon Valley. I went through a crazy period of burnout. This was about 20 years ago. I
yeah.
quit. I quit everything, and I decided to just get qualified to teach meditation classes and try to earn a living. And that's where that calm demeanor comes from. I
Mm,
had to use my voice to get people to relax for
right.
a really long time.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I guess you can't have like too much of a volume and various inflections if you're going to
You've
pursue
got to
that line of
have a
work.
sleepy voice. This is
Mm,
my meditation voice.
mm. Yes, and let me just tell you how that almost just got me in trouble, by the way, because early this morning I had physical therapy, and I said, okay, I'm not
Uh-huh.
gonna I'm gonna take care of me before my interview. I'm still gonna go take care of me. And I was listening to one of your episodes, and it was one where you were talking about, oh, it was amazing. It was about the relaxation of the body to get
Right.
into the meditative state, and you begin
Hmm.
to feel the skin on your body. You begin to
Right.
let the ligaments, and you let go of all the
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying. I want people to
Right.
I'll have people tune in to check it out for themselves. And the voice was like right here. And it's
Right.
not the best scenario in traffic in Jersey City, New Jersey, probably, because I was
Oh my
almost a bit.
God, you were listening to this while driving? Are you insane,
Yeah, I
Corey?
didn't know. You should have a disclaimer on that because it really works, everyone, just so you know, but maybe
No, you
traffic is
you
not.
cannot listen to me if you're like operating a chainsaw, an
No.
AK-15, or an AR-15 or a car. You
Yeah.
just cannot be listening to my voice in those
Any of those
scenarios.
things. Yeah. So now
Right.
we have a disclaimer that that is not a wise thing to do, but it's
Hmm.
effective, but not in traffic. You don't want to do it in traffic. But so your background too, growing up, if I'm not mistaken, you come from a background where your parents were both entrepreneurs and educators. I think your mother was a
Actually,
school
no,
teacher,
no. My mom was a public school teacher.
public school
My
teacher. Okay.
dad, yeah, I'm from Malaysia, so my mom was a public school teacher in Malaysia. My dad had a really small business, and I came from a really humble background. I did not come from wealth. I did not come from a lot of money. My parents were, my mom worked for the government. They're both retired now, but it was the confluence of my mom and a teacher, and the respect I had for her as an educator, as a teacher. She had to sometimes, I remember when the government stationed her in a school far away from home, she had to travel 2 hours back and forth in commute, right? Just to do her job. My dad, he worked in a department store, and then at one point he decided to just start his own business. And that's when my parents had enough money to take me out of the crappy school I was in. I was in a crappy public school, and put me into a proper school so I could get a proper education. And that gave me a second seed that influenced my life, which was entrepreneurship. Because I realized teaching is a noble profession, but, you know, most teachers, as amazing human beings as they are, they only get to make an impact on the 40 or 50 or 60 or so students they get to teach that particular year. So I combined teaching with entrepreneurship. And that, I guess, is what led to Mind Valley. I was given the perfect parents for my destiny.
Amazing. Yes, because you become a sort of like combination of both attributes. You sort of bring all of that
Exactly.
forward into one place. And I did watch an amazing episode. I think it was so great of you on the podcast of Mayim Bialik.
Right.
And it
Hmm.
was great because speaking of the word entrepreneurship, You guys had a pretty funny exchange about that. But you were saying that entrepreneurship is not just, hey, I'm starting a business, because it's almost like a buzzword. Everyone sort of just says it. But for
Yeah.
you were saying it's a state of mind. You can be an entrepreneur, or you can also just apply an entrepreneurial mind to things you do on a daily basis. And I think that was a distinction. So what's your take on the term entrepreneurship?
Okay, so let me put it this way. If I could teach these concepts to my child, okay, and I started a project for young people. It's called Mindvalley University, and well, it's actually for people of all ages. But I started this summer school. It's three weeks for my own children, because I knew that what they were learning in regular school is not going to give them an edge in life. Calvin Coolidge in the 1920s is rumored to have said, education is designed to create wheels in the cogs of machinery. And education really doesn't teach you much more than being a cog in the wheel of machinery. And if you don't learn the stuff outside your schooling, you're going to be in for not the easiest life. And so, the art of entrepreneurship is really the art of being alert and observant to opportunity, to be able to connect the dots, to be able to challenge the status quo, to look for instances where any part of life is suboptimal, and then figure out how can I add value there in such a way where I can help earn a living. So, for example, the first belief that I think people need to understand is that entrepreneurship has absolutely nothing to do with your education. If you think you have to graduate 4 years in college, go in debt to start a business, you are slowing yourself down and you're wasting a ton of opportunity. Just last week, I was interviewing a young man by the name of Elliot Bisnow. Elliot Bisnow started Summit Series. It's one of the biggest conferences in the world. And he is famous for acquiring Powder Mountain at the age of 28. He literally bought an entire mountain, and he turned it into a community, a co-living community. So, but Elliot told me the story. He was in school, and when he was 21 years old, and he came from humble beginnings, and he thought you had to graduate college to be able to start a business. And something flipped his mind. He had a fellow college student that he met who was making money printing t-shirts. And he's like, what? Mom, dad, I can do that? I can actually make money without having a degree? And his parents are like, sure, why not? And it so happened that Elliot's father started a simple newsletter business. This was maybe 15 years ago, back when email newsletters were popular. And Elliot's father brought in Elliot as a business partner and said, go and sell advertising, right? Simple email newsletter. Elliot and his dad saw an opportunity. There were real estate buyers, investors in their city who needed knowledge of the buildings around them. So his father would write these beautiful newsletters about buildings and their history and who built them and the style. And then Elliot would sell ads. Is there a space available in this building? Elliot got so good at selling those ads that he sold $1 million worth of ads. His father gave him 20%. At the age of 21, all of a sudden he was earning 200 grand in school. And he shared with me this moment where it all clicked. He was walking to a class and he says, I wasn't even in a good school. This was like just a regular school. He was walking to a class and around him was everyone else walking to that class. And all of a sudden he felt, I'm in a herd. Everyone is doing the same thing. And he turned around and he looked at the people walking towards the class and he realized, I don't want to be in this herd. I'm already making some money. And I know, yes, if I don't get this degree, I may fail, but I want to try it anyway. The worst thing is not trying. And so he quit college. Elliot went on to become one of the most brilliant entrepreneurs I've ever met. Today, as I said, he owns Powder Mountain. He owns Summit Series. Summit Series is one of the biggest entrepreneurial conferences in the world. But it started because of that level of thinking. You do not have to follow the status quo. The biggest thing that holds us down are the beliefs of the people around us. Some of these beliefs come from culture, some come from religion, some are generational beliefs. There's a saying I really love. Tradition is peer pressure from dead people. What's going on is that so many of us are hooked into those beliefs, but without questioning those beliefs, we fall into these traps. And to be an entrepreneur is to question the rules of society. They are good rules, rules that help us, function, but they're also bullshit rules. I call these rules, the rules of the world, the bullshit rules that actually hold you back. And when you question the bullshit rules, rules such as, do I really have to have two cars, two kids, and a garage? Do I really have to have a college degree? Do I really have to be a lawyer because my father was a lawyer? Do I really have to stay in the same city where I grew up in? Do I really have to stay in the same country? So there are all of these different rules that if you really start looking at them, many of them don't make sense. And that's what great entrepreneurs do. So in my case, I was in Silicon Valley. I was doing the Silicon Valley thing. I was an engineer with a computer engineering degree, trying to climb up the corporate ladder. I got burnt out and I'm like, well, fuck this. Why do I want to do this? I don't enjoy this. I'm getting burnt out. I'm waking up depressed. My health is shit. What was I really into? Well, I was into martial arts and meditation. So, I decided, well, I want to teach one of those things. I happened to choose meditation because it was helping me with my stress. I became a meditation teacher. And from there, I started building and building and building and building and building. So this is the next rule. Entrepreneurs question the rules. They look at opportunities. And once they seize an opportunity, they focus like a laser on it and grow and grow and grow that opportunity. Entrepreneurs need the gift of vision. To be an entrepreneur is to be cursed with a fascinating disease. And that disease is to never be satisfied with the way things are. You can be grateful, you can be happy, but you can never be satisfied. As soon as you're satisfied, you stop growing. So when I was teaching classes of 30 people, I was grateful that I had that opportunity to touch lives, but I wasn't satisfied. I wanted to teach a class of 60 people. When I was teaching classes of 60 people, I wasn't satisfied. I decided I wanted to create a festival and have 250 people join me in a beach in Costa Rica. So I did that. After I created that festival, I said 250 people is too small. I want to create an online website where I can teach 10,000 people at a time. And I kept asking those questions. The greatest gift entrepreneurs have is the curse of perpetual dissatisfaction. But that curse, if you have that curse becomes a gift if you have the ability to apply vision, creative thinking, hard work, team building, recruiting, all of these other things that you can learn from multiple books. That's how you become a great entrepreneur.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a fascinating answer because it's very layered. There's a lot there, and I think one component that we didn't expand on that's in there is there's one moment in there that can't be overlooked either. It's the moment when you asked yourself, am I happy with this? Right? You said, I'm waking up, I don't feel good, I'm depressed, I don't like this. What do I would like to do? And you said, well, I like martial arts and I like meditation. I think that key component is something that I don't think
Right.
people do enough. And when you follow that herd mentality, we go to high school, we graduate at 18, we go to college at 18 in most cases without even knowing who we are yet or what we like in the world. So I know for a fact that then kids go to college very often, and by 23, 24, 25, 26, they're burned out of this career that they didn't even really want to go into in the first place. So I've always taken the approach of like kind of promoting the idea of maybe not going right after high school, maybe getting out in the world and just spreading your wings a little bit, seeing what's out there before you become a phlebotomist and then hate your life for the next 40 years.
Exactly. I think
Nothing
that is
wrong with
sound
drawing blood,
advice. Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's I see a lot of that early burnout because of the herd mentality. All my friends are
Yeah.
going to college, so I need to go to, and you have no idea what the world is about and why you would even dedicate your whole life to a career you have not worked in yet. It's quite irrational, really.
Exactly. And I think one of the things we got to do, if I could change the education system, is give every college student a gap year. They do it in Britain, right? You take a year off and you just travel the world and you explore and you meet new cultures and you expand your horizons. And it's not expensive. I did a gap summer when I was a student at the University of Michigan. I didn't have much money, but I basically backpacked across Europe. I bought a $400 Eurorail ticket. So for $400, I had unlimited trips all across Europe. I would sleep on a train. I would get in a train, sleep on the train, arrive in a city, put my backpack in a locker in the train station, circle around the city, exploring, meeting people, checking out museums, and then pick up my backpack at night, go back on the train, pick any destination that was 8 hours long, once again sleep on the train so I could save on hotel. And I got to see so much of the world through that way of living. And it did help me discover what I wanted to do. I was fascinated by the cultures and the people of the Balkans, the Balkan part of Europe. I had a camera with me, so I took photography, and that ended up landing me a job as a photojournalist. That became one of my passions. So I think there's so many incredible things where self-directed learning matters. Taking a gap year, traveling, discovering your passions is one of the most important things you can do.
Right, absolutely. And I do have to make sure I stress, so I don't get in trouble. I mean, we're not we're not discouraging college by any means here. We're just saying there is an alternative potential route for
Yeah,
people who may
right.
not want to follow that direct path right after high school to go to college. There are other options out there. And, before we even get further, because I do, of course, want to talk about your current book about meditation.
Hmm.
Um, but staying on education for a moment, I think we need to sort of just give a little bit of a foundation before we move forward, because it's going to really make a difference in people
Yeah.
understanding the conversation. Can you explain pre-rational thought versus trans-rational thought? And then I think from there, we can really sort of peel back a couple layers.
Oh, Corey, you're going into some really advanced topics. What you're talking about is pre rational and trans. You're talking about the pre trans fallacy by Ken Wilber.
Mhm.
You're talking about why certain people have difficulty believing or trusting spirituality.
Mhm.
Do you really want to go there?
Well, I know it's complex, and the only reason why I think it sort of lays down a foundation is because I think we are asking people through meditation to somewhat embrace a spiritual level of existence in a way, to
True,
really fully
true.
embrace it. And I
Right.
just feel like, yeah, I know it does seem like that is more advanced topic, but when it comes to the idea of being connected to a realm that's not necessarily the one you can see, I just think somehow that might help people
Yeah.
understand. But if you think it's too complex, or if is there a light version of that explanation that might prepare people for?
Well, basically, the pre-trans fallacy, and you can Google it in Wikipedia, is an idea suggested by Ken Wilber, which simply explains why some people don't trust concepts like meditation or intuition or energy healing. All of these have been actually validated by science. The number of studies on meditation now number 15,000, and it's growing at an exponential rate. Intuition, there's a lot of studies that show that there is some some intelligence that we are able of picking up beyond time and distance. Energy healing, right? Whether it's there is concepts like Kirlian photography that photograph the human era. There's a human aura. There's so many different studies that show the mind's impact on healing. Yet people refuse to believe it and say it's not science. And I remember having this debate with Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? Like he says, no, it doesn't exist. Well, it does exist, Neil. But the reason why Neil can't see it and many people can't is because of this concept called the pre-trans fallacy. And here it is. Most people who exist in the rational realm of consciousness. So there are different cultural levels of consciousness, right? Now, a level doesn't mean uh, one is better than the other. In fact, in Ken Wilber's books of integral theory, that's what he calls this, he gives them colors. So people at the blue level, they typically are religious. They believe in a truth or an idea about a God that came generations back, and that religion holds deep meaning for them. People at the orange level are rational, science based. That's what you find in Wall Street. It's what you find in Silicon Valley. People at the green level don't like religion, and they don't trust money, but they love the environment. They love exploring spirituality. They are what we sometimes call tree huggers or hippies. Now, each of these demographic groups find the other group to be, in Ken Wilber's words, goofy. If you're religious, you look at the other groups, the hippies and the Wall Street people, and you're like, the Wall Street people have no soul, and the hippies, they're just dirty and smelly and can't make any money. You know, every group has their myth about the other group. But here's what tends to happen. People who are in the rational group, which is a growing segment of society because of science, because of Silicon Valley, all of which is amazing, they confuse the green group and the blue group. They look at the religious group and they look at all of these spiritual ideas which are pre-rational. Pre-rational spirituality is the burning bush. Pre-rational spirituality is that there's hell and there's a devil and he's gonna tempt you. And then there's what is called post-rational spirituality. And post-rational spirituality is the aspect of being human that science is now studying. The idea of meditation, the idea of mind body healing, the idea of human intuition, lucid dreams, all of these are trans-rational. But someone at the rational level clumps everything together and labels it all hokey, bullshit, or scammy.
Woo woo, I
But
think
this
you
is
called
a
it, right?
woo-woo, right?
Woo woo, yeah.
And this is where a problem happens because they now fail to look into the power of meditation. They fail to understand the impact their mind has on their body. They associate meditation with religious beliefs that may be more cultural. And so when you are awakened to that concept, you're able to differentiate between pre-rational and post-rational spirituality, between magical thinking but actual spirituality that may have some substance within science.
Right, right. There could be benefits, of course, that we are just not getting access to because people are just dispelling it as being just sort of fiction to begin with, and they don't even
Exactly,
apply it.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the fact is, science doesn't know everything. Nassim Haramein, the physicist, said spirituality is nothing more than physics we have yet to find an equation for.
mm, right, right. And we can't see it, but um,
Right.
doesn't mean it's not there. The very simple thing a friend said to me once: "Well, you can't see the air either, but you clearly know it's there because you're
Yeah.
breathing it, you're breathing it in." And I appreciate you tapping into that because I think by asking people to really embrace meditative therapy, if you will, or just meditation as a practice, it requires some of the people who do not delve in that world to accept that there is something that you might not be able to see that can benefit your life. And I think that's a big question to, or a big task for some of them. And also the reason why I brought it up too is because you mentioned how for some people it's sort of like this kind of woo woo thing where they're like, that's too out there for me. And then if I look at maybe decades ago with the sort of onslaught of the industry, if you will, of speakers and people who are healers and Reiki healers, there's a whole realm of them.
Mm-hmm.
But if I look at the advancement of someone like Esther Abraham Hicks, the
Mm-hmm.
project, The Secret, that was a phenomenon because people were looking
Mm-hmm.
for it. Even Tony Robbins, to a degree, right? If I look at that decades ago till now, there is clearly a hunger from the public for that because at this point, these entities I just mentioned have huge followings. So, what do you think? Well, made that transition happen from decades ago, the woo woo, that's crazy, to actually now there's millions of people who follow this. I mean, you have millions of people following you who
Yeah.
are hungry for this. So, what made that transition, you think?
Results. People who did it saw incredible results. And then science saw incredible results. So in the book Altered Traits by Daniel Goleman, he shares a really fascinating graph. And it's a graph that shows the number of research studies on meditation. And it's crazy, Corey. It's an exponential curve starting in 2000 all the way up to 2020. An exponential curve. It's because people are talking about these results and science is measuring this and seeing that these results are real. Meditation improves your heart health. You can use it to improve your skin. Uh, it's changing the way even medicine works. For example, we mentioned skin earlier. There's a new field right now called psychodermatology, which is the impact the mind has, your mind and emotions has on your skin. We are finding that our minds influence so many aspects of our being. In 2013, the New York Times carried an article about a doctor called J.B. Mosley, who found that certain surgeries that doctors were performing on patients, such as knee surgery for arthritic pain, actually do not actually cause the healing. It is the belief that the surgery works that causes the healing. J.B. Mosley took 10 patients from the Veterans Administration, 10 men who were complaining of arthritic pain in the knee. He put all 10 of them under anesthesia. 2 of them had the standard surgery. 8 just had, a scalpel, like cut slits in their knee, had it sewn up and bandaged. And at the end of that surgery, all 10 of them healed from knee arthritis. And so that surgery has now been discredited. It was the human mind that was causing the healing. People are seeing results. Doctors, science are seeing results. That experiment I gave you was published in 2013 in the New York Times. That's less than a decade ago. And as these results are growing and growing and growing, it becomes inevitable that our mind, our spirit, our soul is taking a greater and greater place in helping us realize just what our lives are about and what our true human potential is.
Thank you so much, Vishen, for your time today. Again, this is wonderful, and especially for a college age audience, I think those young minds who really will benefit from sort of entering the world as they leave college with some of this really new perspective that they can consider on their journey. So, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Corey. Take care.